Okay, hello, this is Peter. I was asked to do a real quick overview of how I teach online classes. And the primary way I do this is I use a very simple piece of software on the iPad called Doceri. So I've got the iPad. I don't know if you can see my picture in the lower right hand corner, but I've got the iPencil and the iPad. The iPad is what's showing on my computer screen right now. I'm actually doing this video through a different piece of software, which I'll talk about in a second. But I've got the iPad, which is showing through my computer screen. And I'm just going to show what I use. I use Doceri to do online lectures. Once a week in my physics class, we flip the class so that we do homework in class and they have to watch a lecture online. There are many great ways to do this, but I actually use Doceri to do this quite simply. There are some other ways which I may start using soon, but Doceri is a piece of software on the iPad which is free and made for educational reasons. It's a whiteboard software where you can go ahead and you can record. Now you can't see the functions that I can see here because this is what a student will see, but you can record a lecture, a whiteboard lecture. You can talk about whatever subjects you're talking about, Newton's laws, and you can actually pull in pictures from the internet, and you can actually prepare the whiteboard screens ahead of time and then record them and talk about them. Regardless, you can. It's a whiteboard lecturing software. It records everything you write and say. Once you're done recording, you simply save the recording. It's a function which is hard for me to show you, but you save the recording and it automatically saves it as a video file, and it gives you automatically a way to simply say send it to YouTube. We all have accounts with YouTube because it's part of our Google account, and so I just send it to YouTube and it creates an address, and then I post that address for the students where to watch the video on Moodle. And then sometimes I'll email them and say, hey, a video's up for you to watch. Sometimes they just know to look for a video to watch, but it's posted on Moodle. So all the class communication is done through Moodle. What else can I say about Doceri? So hold on, let me pause. I like Doceri just because it's easy to use, pretty straightforward. It's just a basic whiteboard. You can change colors and pen size and background and add pictures, etc. Oh yeah, I know the other thing I was going to say is that when you drop the video to YouTube, which Doceri and most of these software will let you automatically do, there's not really nothing you need to do to make it happen other than say send to YouTube. I choose to post them in YouTube as unlisted. They're not private. In other words, if somebody knows the address, anybody can watch it, but nobody can find it by searching for it. So I post them as unlisted on YouTube. So that's the primary way that I simply create lectures which I can then share with the class. Now we can get a lot more complicated than Doceri. So I'm just going to go into a couple of quick details about some other things that we do. So believe it or not, I actually use two different whiteboard software packages. The other one I use is OneNote. Actually, this is a summary of the things I use: Doceri, OneNote, AirServer, Camtasia, and Screencastify. I'll mention those in a second. But OneNote is if you haven't seen it before, is what I think is a fantastic notebook program in the Microsoft family. We all have access to it on our computers and therefore on tablets and etc. But it's simply, there's a notebook for different things. I have a notebook here, for example, for the Center for Student Research. And so I have notes for all different things that the Center for Student Research does. I have something which is course lecture notes for every class. This is where I put my lecture notes ahead of time that I'm creating for class. And then I've got my class notes, which are the notes that I'm writing during class. So I actually use OneNote pretty extensively beyond just way beyond the online class. But for an online class, OneNote can be used like a whiteboard. Whoops, that's writing in highlighter. A whiteboard just like Doceri can. The difference is that OneNote doesn't have an internal recordable feature just like Doceri does. Doceri is all in one. You can do everything with Doceri. You don't have to use anything else. With OneNote, you have to have something externally to record it. I actually use OneNote for my class when I'm lecturing on a day-to-day basis live. I actually use the iPad and I write my notes as I'm lecturing. I write down the important things instead of using a chalkboard or a whiteboard. And this is projected, and I could do this ahead of time too, but it's projected using the Air Server software that the college has on all their computers. You can use a wireless device to project onto any desktop and therefore onto any projector on campus using the Air Server software. So this is slightly more complicated because it takes two pieces of software, OneNote and Air Server, for me to project. And then if I want to record, I have to use yet a third piece of software. So I haven't been recording lectures using OneNote. Mostly I just use Doceri because it's quicker. But then to put them all together, I can use OneNote or Doceri with my laptop using Air Server in order to show what I'm doing on my iPad, so I've got a writable whiteboard. And then I can use some kind of screencasting software. There are free screencasting softwares such as Screencastify, which is a free software in the Chrome browser. It's great, it's easy to use, but I'm using Camtasia. Camtasia gives you one more step of control because it's got some great editing features. And one of the beautiful things about Camtasia, which is what I'm using now, which is what is allowing me to put my picture in your lower right-hand corner while I'm showing what's going on my iPad, you can actually put in quizzes into your lecture. So at any point, once I'm done lecturing, I push stop, I can go ahead and anywhere and look in my Camtasia software, it shows the timeline of the video I just created, and I can just drop a quiz question anywhere in that timeline so that it'll stop the video, ask a quiz question, require the student to respond, and then go on. So that's a little bit more advanced. Really, Doceri does it all for me, a single piece of software that allows me to do a basic lecture, but I'm getting a little bit more involved, so I'm going to start using Camtasia, which is a little bit more involved.